All right, let's start with the comment. Nice video. Just stop your sick feminism. A woman can never be a boss. She can't command a man. Call her a leader, a manager, or an assistant. No woman can command a man.
Ooh, that makes me feel some kind of way.
That's an actual comment.
I'm riled up. You got that comment. I love that you saved it as a screenshot, and here we are today chatting about it. The audacity in 2025, or whenever that comment was made within the last few years, that someone genuinely believes that. This man genuinely believes that. And that's a little bit terrifying.
It is. I mean, she can't command a man. It's wild. And I get asked all the time of, do I feel like being a woman in a leadership position has had an effect, or has gender played a role in my position? And like historically I said no. Mm-hmm. But then I see things like this and I really stop to think about it. I'm like, actually, yes, there are key areas where it has had an effect on my leadership. And that is why we're here today to talk about it.
Yeah, this comment really got us thinking, and we've both faced versions of this. I think that this comment is an extreme version, but it's not an isolated incident. And it doesn't need to get this extreme for you to start to realize that often women are walking around in the workplace and have to try just as hard or double as hard, I would rather say, to be seen that they have the value that, or the credibility that a man might automatically have in the space. And we've come across it. I've come across it from an element of ageism as well as women in the space. But that's what we're here to chat about. I think we need to pour a glass of wine for this one.
Exactly. Let's open up with a powerful stat.
Women hold only 28% of executive roles in the US and are promoted 30% less often than men despite equal performance. But according to Credit Suisse, teams with more women leaders show 34% higher ROI on average, and they'd rather invest in those companies.
34% higher ROI. I've heard this stat quite a few times. We've had a lot of conversations on my end with private equity, and there is a lot of value in having a female founder or a female-led company. I've seen a lot of different studies that dive into how women show up during downturns, how women show up as leaders, and the type of retention they maintain in their staff. There's a million different things that I think that we could dive into for support of this topic. Instead of taking up your time with all of those million different angles, we decided to kind of collab on the questions we've been asked over the last few years that are related to this topic. I think the first one that came up is, have you ever gotten feedback that was clearly more about your gender than your performance?
Yeah, I've had this one where being in a group leadership team setting and had essentially said something that a male colleague of mine had said something very similar. And I got the feedback that it wasn't about what I said, it was about how I delivered that feedback, and that it came on too strong and I should soften my tone, and it was too abrasive in that meeting. And that's often a comparison that's made, that men are assertive and women are aggressive. And I know that we dabbled on this lightly in the Enneagram episode of coming on too strong or being too much. And so there's often that with a woman who commands the space and comes in with a lot of strength, is automatically seen as, whoa, she's coming in a little bit hot. And I realized, especially when that male colleague of mine got praised for his version, delivered very similarly, I will say. He got praised for that, and I got, in that moment, this micro performance feedback. And it just had me take a step back and realize, hang on, that wasn't really all about what I said. It was how I said it rubbed someone the wrong way, that I was pretty strong in my convictions of this feedback.
I want to stop and give some feedback to the listeners. If this topic makes you uncomfortable, or if you're listening in and being like, that's not actually true, that's never a thing, then that you may be part of the problem, in full transparency. And I would ask, when is the last time anyone who's listening to this episode has heard a man in a leadership position be called a bitch? I've never heard that come up. The amount of times I have heard someone use that phrase for a woman in leadership, I've
lost count.
I've lost count. It is very frequent, and you hear about it all the time with children, of, girls talk too much, boys are leaders, women are bossy, men take charge, boys take charge. Mm-hmm. Even how I'm talking about the phrasing now, I'm referencing women as girls and children and boys as men. There is some level of conditioning. I understand that. Mm-hmm. We are all conditioned a very certain way due to traditional gender roles, and that's completely fine. This podcast is to help break some of that. The playing field has been leveled in terms of what a woman can accomplish versus a man, but I don't think we're playing by the same rules. Mm-hmm. The rules are still different for women versus men in the environment, even though we're playing the same game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd also say there's definitely a transition in just corporate America in organizations, period. But I have seen that barrier break down, I believe, faster in e-commerce as well. And why I love that in e-commerce, and what I absolutely love about e-commerce, is that it changes so fast. So I don't really care about your 40 years of experience, because that doesn't help with how things are run today and what brings the value. And so as we've absolutely seen a lot of stats of women are having kids older, they're focusing on their careers a lot more. They have been in the workplace now for a longer period and are influencing more. That over this period of time, I'm starting to see these barriers break down a lot more in e-commerce. But the toxic masculinity is still around, absolutely.
Let's actually chat about that. There's a few other variables that I think are highly driven by e-commerce that are empowering women. Another one is work from home.
Absolutely.
We see e-commerce is typically maybe a little bit higher of a work from home environment, and COVID helped level the playing field, because what people started realizing, what I've realized in a leadership position, if it is 9 a.m. and I'm on a call with a full team of people, very frequently moms are going to be late for that call, because moms traditionally are the ones who take their children to school. So when return to office happened, a lot of women were at a disadvantage, because now they are back to taking their children to school and can no longer work the same 9 to 5 that everyone else is working. But when work from home started, things like women leading the laundry and doing the dishes, they were able to do that between calls rather than going to your traditional office job, coming home and still having another 20-hour work week of taking care of your household. So I think that's something that's really important to call out as well, is how work from home influences power dynamics and time management. And if you're in a position of leadership, to keep that in mind. The women on your team and the moms on your team, it's very likely are at a slight disadvantage. Now, no, not everyone. I know there's going to be people that are going to send me messages saying, like, I don't have that problem, I've never seen that problem, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be everyone for a statement to be made.
Doesn't have to be everyone. It doesn't have to be your personal experience. And I love, in 5 years, let's expedite it, in 5 years' time, when people are listening back to this podcast, they're like, wow, this really isn't a thing anymore. Imagine they were
outdated.
Chatting about that. Outdated. I would love this to be an entirely outdated topic, period. But absolutely, the flexibility has allowed a lot more of women to show up in a different way, both at home and in the workplace. But I would also venture to say that make sure that you're making these accommodations for just understanding what human beings are going through. My favorite are the incredible women and new mothers on my team. I have a lot of new little ecom babies that have been coming around, and
we call them better babies on our end.
Oh, like yeah,
little BTR babies.
I love that, little BTR babies. It's giving the grace of what that new mom is going through coming back into the workplace, but I also feel incredibly strong just in the same way that women bring a lot of the soft skills that I believe make them just inherently brilliant people leaders. They focus on community, they come with vulnerability and just emotional EQ as well. 10x that for a mother.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really good transition to our next question. And it was, how would you describe leadership styles across men versus women? Typically, men lead with a little bit more of a masculine energy. They're usually a little bit more direct. To your point, mothers are at an advantage for maybe leading with a little bit softer energy. But I think women in general tend to lead with a little bit of a more feminine leadership style, which is softer. And I'm not going to say, I was going to say coined more emotional, but emotional is a positive in that they care a little bit deeper. So they usually establish teams that, again, have a proven higher ROI than maybe a man would.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my leadership style, sort of self-described, if you will, and also having gone through professional development and coaching over the years too, is a facilitative leadership style, or maybe even go so far as to say a servant leadership style, where I win if my team is recognized as showing up at the best that they can be. I don't need to prove anymore, what I bring to the table. And if you're not seeing that, then we're not going to see eye to eye. But I really want my team to shine, and setting them up for success, their collaboration, instead of me being the commander and more directive. Yeah, that doesn't mean that I don't have to have strong performance conversations or put on the proverbial boxing gloves to get through a tough conversation sometimes. That's not the autopilot. The autopilot, and what wins more often in my experience, both with leading people and getting people to want to follow you as well, and want to do their best in your team, but also influencing others, especially if you are at odds with them, is, what's that saying about honey and bees versus vinegar? It's the same sort of scenario with women in the workplace. So that facilitative leadership style, though, I've often, maybe not often, but I have received this feedback as well of, you need to take charge. You need to be more visible yourself. You need to be the one that's commanding that space. And I say, well, hey, are the results there? Is the work getting done? Do you have visibility into my team? Because I already know who I am. I want to make sure that my succession plan has the visibility that they need to have, which therefore I'm making sure that I'm propping up everyone else. And that's been seen as a negative before, but then it's also been seen as a complete positive. So it's kind of figure out who's
who you're playing to,
who am I playing to, and who's the audience that I'm playing to at that point in time. Absolutely. But women just inherently bring these overlooked strengths that absolutely drive results. And two areas for me: empathy is a superpower, and it's collaboration over command. And that empathy over superpower is that comment that you're making there of emotional. And the fact that we even have a negative connotation to the word emotional in the workplace is a problem in itself. But we are fine-tuned we're sort of socialized into, oh my goodness, the cat is going to cause problems.
The cat is a problem. She's really cute.
I thought I wanted more feminine energy in the room, but
she is too much. If you see this video and you don't engage because of the cute cat in the corner, what is wrong with you? Look at her.
Casually pulling out cables half the time. But back to empathy. Empathy is a superpower. We're great at reading the room, anticipating other people's needs, often over our own. And I would say that is fantastic servant leadership as well. It's inherent in us. And having a high emotional intelligence, these are more traits that are often associated with women and how they show up in the natural space.
Absolutely. I have this conversation frequently with my team that I can hop on a Zoom call and read emotions just from facial expressions to the point where I know who's having a good day or a bad day, even if they did not talk. And shout out to my COO, Alex. I'll send him a message, be like, hey, have you heard from so-and-so? It looks like they're not doing well. And he'll be like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, did you see them on the Zoom? And he's like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Then we'll send a message like, oh my gosh, my grandfather's sick or something. Yeah. And Alex will be like, how do you know these things? It's intuition, but I also think, I don't even know if I want to go on this tangent and this rant. Women have been conditioned to have to be able to read people's needs because we were at a disadvantage in the workplace for so long. Mm-hmm. I think that one of our questions here, if I could scroll up, but our cat is laying down. Why do women often feel pressure to prove themselves twice as much? I think this is a good transition point for what I'm talking about. And if a man and a woman are side by side and have the exact same point, oftentimes in an environment, the man is going to be heard first. And I think due to that, and due to the historical nature, again, maybe not in today's society, you may not have had this experience. Historically, if a man made the comment, he was promoted and a woman was not. So I think women have been conditioned to pick up on those signals a little bit quicker and a little bit faster to give them an upper hand, if we're being completely honest. It's just a theory I'm leaning into. I have no idea if I actually know what I'm talking about here.
Well, I think your experience is valid,
yeah.
But that's also, yes, you do know what you're talking about because you've led this. But you're humble. There you go. So you're humble and you're not stating a fact and saying that this is the way it is for everyone and broad. Like, even the way that we're communicating, we have grace for it's not going to be everyone's experience. Yeah. But I think there's going to be a lot of people in that listen to this that do resonate with a lot of this as well.
Yeah.
And it is exhausting. When you're automatically assumed to have that credibility.
Wait. Nope, pause. Because this is my favorite quote. And again, Kat is laying across keyboard here.
She's actually asleep, so you've lost your whatever notes that you were trying to reference.
You're going to have to keep us on track now. If we have any actual stats to give, Gabby's going to have to give them because I cannot see my computer due to her cat just chilling. The quote that I want to reference, and it's one of my absolute favorite quotes, is a man can walk into a room and is assumed right until he proves the room wrong. Mm-hmm. If a woman walks into a room, they have to prove themselves right.
Yeah.
That's a really, really big difference. If a woman walks into a room and everyone assumes that she doesn't know what she's talking about until she speaks, think about, one, the insecurity and confidence of always walking into a room and everyone thinking you don't know what you're talking about.
Or just constantly having to repeat yourself because that's the thing as well, is you're automatically given that credibility versus you are expected to earn that credibility over and over and over again. We talk about mental load. This is similar to that. It's one of those less visible loads that we have to deal with. And that pressure to constantly validate your seat at the table is exhausting.
It is exhausting.
Yes.
That
and you're not bringing your energy to anything else. So it's okay. So that person who's automatically got that credibility, they've moved on to everything else that they wanted to deliver versus even just trying to earn that seat at the table is exhausting, meaning you now have to expel X more energy units just to get through the same point across.
Yeah. And I will say, I've heard this argument before, and I think there is some truth to it, that, the glass ceiling, the pay differential is kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. Women don't ask for raises near as much as men. Women don't ask to be on stage near as much as men. I completely agree. I've lived that experience multiple times. I would have male counterparts who knew half of what I did be put on stage because they raised their hand and said, I'm the smartest in the room. And I was like, no, if they thought I deserved to be on stage, they would reach out to me first.
Yeah.
And that was a disadvantage for me. So I will 100% agree. If you're listening in and rolling your eyes because you're like, well, I asked for a pay raise and they didn't. I completely agree. But you have to dig a little bit deeper and say, why?
Why?
Why did she not ask for a pay raise? Why did I get the speaking slot? And you start realizing that, again, if women are driven by, why are these women driven by insecurity? And why are women working twice as hard? And it's like, well, because of this, generations of being at a disadvantage at the end of the day.
And
if you're told no 700 times, why would you want to speak up the 701st time?
Mm-hmm.
It goes hand in hand, and you have to see both sides of the picture. So that's, again, everyone who's listened to episodes 1 and 2, the point of this podcast is to basically be the podcast we wish we had when we were younger. And this is us saying, like, look, yes, we know that both of those things can be true at the same time, but be confident. You will have someone else, whether it's a man or a woman, who is more confidence than you, but half the knowledge. Mm-hmm. Confidence will get you very, very far in our industry, sadly. Yeah. And if you can combine both, you'll be in a good spot.
Yeah. I would say that there's not a mentee that I've had or a formal, informal conversation where that's not a point that I've coached someone through. Yeah. Because I have been that. I've been that very insecure one. And then I've also had the damn audacity to ask for it and negotiate through it and be like, this is the worth that I'm bringing to the table. Yeah,
she is very, very good at negotiation.
All right. One time I negotiated with the crispiest chicken nugget that was there, and I thought that was a good offer. I'm never going to live this one down, ever. To my Nestle Health Science team and Amazon, I am good at negotiation, okay? Just I won't negotiate with a chicken nugget this time in those circumstances.
She read the room wrong.
I read the room wrong. It's what I valued, not what my audience valued. But back to the point is that point that you made there of women just don't ask for it, or they're waiting until they have 10 out of 10 on the checklist of that job to apply for versus 3 out of 10 on the checklist that the man will. And these are, you can look these up. These are stats that we have a cat looking over the laptop here.
She's not, her eyes are closed.
She is snoring. So we're not going to be able to give you the sources for these, but you can look them up. They're there.
If you want inspiration on how to walk into a room as the most confident woman possible, you should look at a Maine Coon cat.
Look at her.
The audacity.
This is something that I frequently coached mentees on, people on, is find and curate that confidence to ask for it, to, what's the worst that can happen? It's a coaching learning moment. And it might end up being a moment on the podcast if you have a complete opposite reaction. That's also a learning moment for you too, because then you're finding out maybe this isn't an organization that I want to work for, or a leader that I want to work under, or I'm going to have to handle this person very differently. If you're asking for something that's entirely fair, fact-driven, and you're proving and showing what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we don't ask.
It's cool to see the younger generations do better.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I'm going to use my sister as an example. Hearing DeLacy, who's 11 years younger than me, how she handles situations and how she shows up is something that I never had at that age. And if we can, just influence a few people that are listening in to take that step and to be a little bit more bold, a little bit more confident, trust that you know what you know, and take the leap. Like, that's what this podcast is about. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's worked for us tenfold. Yeah. And that was a
but
big
it took
part.
a lot.
It took a lot, and it took us going through a lot of things at the same time that exasperated or that's not the right word.
I mean, having two absolute narcissistic male leaders who use that to their advantage, in my opinion, in both of our positions. Like, it's
my favorite.
Helped us overcome
I
that.
love coming across narcissists these days and read them from just a mile away. And I've got
been there, done that.
Been there, done that. I've got the playbook. I've got the Rolodex on like what line to whip out at this point. Am I fluffing up their ego? Am I letting they think that they have won on this one, or are we just going to school them and put them in their place? Kind of depends. But let's pivot over to last section for funsies, because it's a serious one, but it's also a fun one, talking about stage presence and appearance. Oof. This one, I'm going to open up with a stat because I can see.
Yep.
60% of women leaders feel judged more on appearance than competence, compared to 6% of men. It's from a Catalyst survey.
I am not going to use the word judge to frame up this next portion, but I will say this has been one of my biggest insecurities. At any event, TJ, if you're listening in, you know this. I have called you with every single outfit and asked your opinion because I am so insecure of it. And I know that both of us have gotten very direct feedback on stage about what we wear. Mm-hmm. I think yours was...
Mine was an eye-opening moment. But in the best way possible.
Yeah, not judgment.
Renata, if you're listening to this, absolutely love you. Renata made a comment to me a couple of years ago. All of the women on stage are in pantsuits or structured outfits, and I rarely see them commanding that space on stage in dresses or vibrant colors or flowy things that I know are part of their style. And that was... that hit me quite hard, because when I'm walking around the office, I am wearing more of those flowy or fun or vibrant, and I am serious and stoic and structured pantsuits on stage.
Have you seen her eyebrows?
Why? And so it was positive feedback, because I'd never thought about it. It was my automatic bias that I want to be taken seriously. Yeah. And so if I want to be taken seriously, I need to be wearing a structured pantsuit. So
I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's wrong. I mean, I 100% agree with Renata's point. I have walked off stage and within the first 30 minutes been told my legs looked amazing. Yes, I should not care about that feedback, but the fact of the matter is I'm getting that feedback, and the stat shows it.
Yeah.
If you're constantly complimented and or judged by your appearance over what is coming out of your mouth, you are conditioned to do that. I mean, like, from childhood, I've gotten those comments. I have cried multiple times while figuring out outfits to go on stage because I was concerned that I had too much leg showing or XYZ. I have so many fun heels that I want to wear on stage, and I will frequently wear them on stage now that I've grown a little bit in my role, but I've gotten those comments and it sticks with me, and it's become a big insecurity of, are people actually listening to what I have to say, or are they focused on how I look? Yes, it should not matter to me. If you're listening, don't let it matter to you. But it's an issue.
It's an issue that I think you just need to give yourself grace for. No,
I didn't know how aggressive you were going to come at me there.
Can you get over it, please? I do love, though, that after that comment with Renata and you and I were on stage like less than a month or so later, we purposefully wore
dresses and heels,
and
loved it,
and fun, and
we also played Beyonce as our walk-up music.
Okay, Beyonce, if you're listening, 2 out of the 3 episodes, please can we use Diva as our podcast welcome music?
If anyone listening knows a connection to Beyonce, send this straight to her. I'm sure she can relate about what she wears on stage.
And that's it, is the fact that so much, I would venture to say for you in particular, probably, maybe not more, but almost as much prep time into what you're going to cover and what value you're going to...
For sure. More prep time
into
what I wear. I didn't want to lead
that, but yeah, where's your prep time going on what you're going to wear, and the fact that that's coming from a place of insecurity, so that the focus is on what you're delivering, which is so much wealth of knowledge, versus what you're looking like up there, and for that to not be too distracting.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that also carries over into the workplace, if we're being honest. And I'm going to use an example of one of our younger employees was at a recent conference, and someone walked up to her at the conference and made the comment, "Your tattoos are really sexy." And later on, I did not know this yet. It actually came to me from one of our other employees. Fast forward, I ran into her at the conference and I'm like, "How's it going?" And she said, "It's really nice walking around with two of our other male employees because she felt safe." You are at a work conference and you are concerned about that. It's insane. And I've had the same situation. I have had to leave an event early because a man was so mad that I gave him my work email to audit his Amazon advertising. He talked to me. This is a very sensitive point. If you know me, you know that this was an issue for me because I haven't got over it. We're at an event. He talks to me for 30 minutes about my recommendations for his Amazon advertising. And he goes, "Can we exchange contact information?" I give him my email, my work email. And he looks at me, he goes, "That's all this is?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" And he goes, "I can't get your personal number so we can talk about other things." I left. I cried, which is, again, let's go back to the emotional topic. I was so frustrated that was used against me in like a work environment, and I wasted all of that time and energy on someone that I was authentically trying to help who only wanted to hit on me. And that's difficult. And I've brought this up to multiple people back home. I'm from Arkansas, a little bit different mindset about these things, and it's kind of an eye roll, and they're like, "Take it as a compliment, move on." And I'm like, no.
no, you shouldn't have to.
I run a multi-million-dollar company, and the fact that I have to take it as a compliment is ridiculous. I have to waste my time and energy on something like that is ridiculous. Like, it's not acceptable.
The fact that you have to think through the next time you're having an engagement with someone that you're hoping you are either this is a lead or you're adding value to, and you're offering that you're going to give a free audit of, of their account and whatnot, adding major value, only for that to be a slap in the face of, "I'm trying to hit you up."
And men, you probably wouldn't piece this together, but the first place my mind goes is, I shouldn't have worn that outfit. Like, I should make myself less so that way I am not put into that situation again. And yes, I get it. It's a small situation. It's such a, just blow it off thing. But like, it's not an isolated incident. And I think that's where it starts like really adding up. Is my last webinar I did, someone commented, "Wow, it's so sexy watching Destaney speak." I'm like, what? Again, I dropped it as a screenshot to my team. We all laugh about it. It's not a big deal. Like, in an isolated incident, it's not a big deal. But when everything stacks up, it's like you can see where this insecurity comes from, especially when it starts getting borderline like, that's creepy.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable.
It doesn't even need to be to that point of your tattoos are so sexy at a work conference. It's the fact that it is constant, it's frequent, it's and it's subtle. It
is subtle. It could be as simple as eye contact, if we're being honest. Women
delayed
know.
Eye contact.
It's a look up and down as you walk by. Like, it is constant.
Mm-hmm. And it makes you second guess yourself of what am I wearing, or what did I say that caused that? And we're not the problem.
Yeah.
That is not the problem. And that's just another hit to your confidence that you don't need. All you have is your confidence. Work on yourself, bring that to the table, and whack away through the weeds of these long drawn out eyes, or being granted credibility only after 10 times of proving it.
Yeah. I don't want to continue harping on this. Oh my goodness. I don't know if we have Kat in this video.
She's there a little bit.
She just covered up her little eyes and did like a little snuggle. Wow, I'm so distracted.
Well, she knows it's bedtime. She's like, why is the light so bright in here?
Why is this podcast so long?
We felt like this was a later night. I mean, Destiny's finished her glass of wine, so I'm gonna have to get up and you do refill something. It. Evidently,
I have one small point that I would like to end on in regards to this subject, and it's just going back to the topic of, what are Renato's comment of like dressing up on stage. Look, I have done this for many years. I have inherently probably more confidence than the normal human. So it's like I can push past it and look past it. If you're young, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Mm-hmm. I have been in the position multiple times where I turned my head and moved on because I didn't want to be labeled inappropriate. I didn't want to be labeled as the cold one, the icy one, the bitch. Mm-hmm. Multiple times, hundreds of times, I have let something fly because of that. If you're young and you're getting started, like, don't be afraid to speak up.
Yeah. Because I would venture to say once I started to speak up, or once I would even just throw the question back, what did you mean by that?
Yeah.
Ooh, makes that person...
They realize
they
messed up.
Yeah. And they also, because it's such an unconscious bias at this point that it's
a one-off experience for them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily one-off, but it's more isolated for them. So they don't maybe realize the impact it has. Yeah. But as someone who's on the reverse and who's in that almost weekly, it adds up. Do not let it affect do not let it cause insecurity.
And don't be afraid to push back as well. Find a way, do your Enneagram, whatever that self-work is, to develop your own confidence as well, and realize and just believe in what you're bringing to the table too. Because there's so many circumstances and so many influences around you that are going to cause and trigger some level of insecurity. I'm too much. I'm asking for too much. I don't deserve that. I did deserve that, whatever it may be. I would venture to say that you're probably being too hard on yourself too. And there's enough limiting factors out there. Do not let you be your own limiting factor. And it comes into this area too. It'll come up in a couple of other topics, but that's a big one for me. Once I got out of my own way and I started to just have more of that self-conviction, it got a lot easier. And with that,
I think that's our final pour.
I think that's our final pour. We have to figure out how we're doing our final pours, but
if you have listened, anything resonates, please comment. We want to hear your stories. We want to highlight your experiences, and we are incredibly appreciative of, all of the followers and the comments and engagement we've gotten thus far. We want to reach and help as many people as possible. This is the podcast we wish we had when we were younger. So if anything stuck out, anything you disagreed with, debate me in the comments.
The conversation is just getting started.